Hello and welcome to the November 2023 installment of the Microsoft Product Terms License Update from the version 1 software asset management practice. How's everybody doing out there today?
Good,
Good,
thanks.
Carl, thanks.
Good, Carl,
Good
thanks.
stuff. So, Neve, I hand the baton to you first. You've had a look at a couple of the terms. What's
I
happening?
did, yeah. I specifically looked at some of the updated terms. So, like the first one that's hot off the press is the universal terms for online services, which specifically relates to updates to the generative AI terms. So, hot topic to add clarity. They say to add clarity and align with Microsoft's Copilot commitments. So, what does that mean? When you kind of look under the hood, what it says is that they've included capacity limitations, and they've kind of rejigged and put a clause, a section in for use of content for training, and then specified location of data processing. So a couple of these are interesting, just like the data location processing may be of significance if customers require a guarantee to keep their AI data within its own tenant's geographic region, as the clause states that data may be processed outside of the tenant's geographic region. And then the capacity limitations, that's an interesting entry where if Microsoft observes that there's an excessive use of an AI service, it may throttle the customer's access to the service. So that was kind of good to kind of pick up on this month. And then the second one that I looked at was the GitHub offerings, and where they say they've updated the general service terms and service specific terms for added clarity when purchasing through Microsoft. So what does that mean? Well, the general service terms, it's a brand new section under GitHub offerings, and it deals with the terms such as license grant, the ownership of content, and privacy. And then new to kind of service specific terms that were there kind of since GitHub offerings is on the product terms. Under service specific terms are details for enterprise server, enterprise cloud, and Copilot. So, for example, like with the GitHub Copilot defense of third party claims, the provision under which Microsoft or GitHub will indemnify its Copilot copyright commitment. So it's kind of interesting because, like it says, specifically customers must have set, the customer has to have an action, which is like they have to set duplicate detection filtering feature available in GitHub Copilot to its block setting. So now you know. So that's
Okay.
it this month, Carl.
Okay. Good stuff. So I'll stick with all things AI. So obviously, anybody who's been looking at Microsoft product announcements over the last number of months will be familiar with Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is Microsoft's many new AI offerings, which is basically, I think, designed to enhance user efficiency and productivity when using all of the Microsoft 365 apps that we're familiar with, things like Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. So this has been pretty well signposted. I think back in October, Microsoft announced that the Microsoft 365 Copilot would go general availability this November. So no surprise that we see 365 Copilot being added to the product terms. It's been added to the product terms, and also a couple of things to call out in terms of the addition is Microsoft call out the fact that it's an additional product. So customers need to be mindful that there's an additional cost associated with Copilot. I think that's probably self-explanatory. Um, I have spoken to some customers who think, oh, am I going to get Copilot because I'm on an E5? That's not the case. It's an add-on license, so there's a supplementary cost there. Um, there's also a prerequisite. It's called out in the product terms. So, in order to apply Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses to users, those users need to either have a Microsoft 365 Business Standard, a Business Premium, or a Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 subscription. So, if your organization has a kind of a proliferation of Office 365 subscriptions or standalone components of Microsoft 365 or Office 365, you need to be mindful of that because that's, there's going to be a supplementary cost there if you do intend to assign 365 Copilot licenses to those types of users. You're going to have to step up to a new license as well as purchasing that add-on license. I also had a quick look at Azure. So there's a couple of updates on Azure. So they've added terms to Microsoft Fabric, Azure AI content safety, and then some general updates to AI and Azure OpenAI service terms. With regards to Fabric, you can see now customers can use Power BI within Microsoft Fabric, and then Azure AI Content Safety Studio, which is like an online tool designed to handle potentially what you might classify as risky, offensive, undesirable content. Microsoft have, provide some new cutting edge moderation capabilities through machine learning models. So we see that offering now coming on stream and being referenced within the product terms. So that's pretty much all I looked at this month. Richard, anything interesting from your side?
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I looked at two of the updates this month. The first one being the privacy and security terms. Essentially, Microsoft updated the Azure Core Online Services to reflect new branding. There isn't a lot of detail there. It's simply an addition to their already and growing robust privacy and security terms. Then the other one I looked at was the System Center Server update. So there are two updates here, and they're quite important. The first one is they updated to support the launch of System Center Server in MCA and CSP. And then the second one is that they removed the minimums of 16 cores per customer, something similar and akin to what they did with Windows Server. So now the licensing rules say customers may use the software on Azure or a server to manage a virtual OSC on a licensed server, provided it acquires sufficient server licenses and the sufficient server licenses in this case is 8 cores per virtual OSC. So having to license with a minimum of 16 cores has been removed, which makes it easier and substantially cheaper to license in a virtual environment, or either on-prem, private cloud, or in public cloud, which is similar to what they've done in the Windows Server space as well. So those were the two changes that they made with regards to System Center.
Great stuff. So I think there's one other update on Microsoft Defender. Guess what you're gonna run us through.
Yeah, it's just states Microsoft Defender Experts for XDR, which has been added to the availability table for enrollment for education solutions. It's an add-on to Microsoft Defender. It basically extended detection and response is XDR is what it stands for. Just helps security operations centers and respond to incidents that matter in quotation marks. So it just extends that detection and response for customers beyond the standard Microsoft 365 Defender services, which are the prerequisite anyway for having experts for XDR. And that was that was the only update.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much then wraps us up for this month's product terms. As always, check out the blog associated with today's video. And as always, if you have any Microsoft related queries or any other software vendor licensing related queries, don't hesitate to contact us here at the Version 1 Software Asset Management Practice. Until the next product terms update or one of the other videos that I'm sure we'll be pushing out this month, we'll see you then. Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.